Well, I wanna push back on that. Do you think that slavery was economic, or do you think that was all race as well?
I think that slavery, if you're talking about the shadow slavery, where as a country, because it's kind of hard to delineate. I think a lot of times we like to talk about slavery like in the United States, but slavery, even the United States, slavery didn't begin in the United States,
Right.
right? So you had the European interest in going to different places and taking not just people but land. So there's a pattern there, and I'm not trying to not answer your question. I mean, slavery, the way it was done in the United States, was absolutely economic. I will say that, right? And I will always say that. Um, the reason that there was a separation in terms of, going down line, okay, so the slaves are just going to be African. We might have a few white slaves sprinkled in here and there. We're going to have indentured servitude. We're going to have Jim Crow. Now, Jim Crow, as you move away from the original economics of coming, stealing somebody else's land, pushing them off into a corner of their land, once they've taught you how to till their land, and bringing free labor over to do the work that you've been taught how to do by the people whose land you just stole. Like, that's definitely economic, but at the same time, you're already noticing differences in terms of culture and racial ethnicity. You're already
Yeah.
noticing that. And so, again, if you're playing a zero sum game where you feel like there's a scarcity model here, then of course you don't want to share with. If you already have the marbles, what's the incentive for you to share the marbles if you feel like there are more players than there are available marbles? But that's a mind game.
Yeah.
So again, you can say something is economic. Like right now, I can just say, all right, well, I'm about to rob you of your wallet and everything. That's economic, right? But I'm going to take advantage of the situation that we're in now. I am not going to go to, what is it, 920, the jail, the
Yeah.
around the corner, whatever, and walk in there and start telling the sheriff's deputies and the inmates that I'm about to take your wallet. Do you know what I mean? So it's not that I have this affinity for people who are in lockup. It's that I feel like if I got to take anybody's wallet, and I don't think I could take you, I am being silly, but I feel like if I could take anybody's wallet,
Right.
I'd rather at least try to get yours. And so that's how the economic piece kind of morphs into the what I want to say, bias piece. Right. So I have to have a bias. I have to have a prejudice against some group because there's not enough for everybody. What if we realize that there is enough for everybody? What if we realize there would probably be more if everyone was allowed to contribute at an equivalent rate? What if that's the real truth?
Hmm. Well, do you see that? I guess you could look at it two different ways because I was going to bring up I guess the prison, just the overall justice system in terms of how we put certain people in jail more often than not, and then these people can't afford to get out, and then they end up basically working in jailhouse situations and working themselves to death to the bone. But then I also just thought about, I guess the hierarchy of our CEOs, and you can even talk about the more recent assassination of the United Health CEO, where you have so many people, I should say a small number of people that are in power that have they're holding all the marbles that are basically controlling indirectly, but I feel like almost directly everyone else. And you can see this where if Jeff Bezos does something or if Mark Zuckerberg does something, all of a sudden half of the Americans that hold their stocks either lose value or gain value based on nothing that they did, based on really nothing that has to do with the overall economics of the company other than what this one person who is a multi-billionaire said. It's just it's really mind-boggling if you really think about it, you know?
If you really think about it. And I guess to bring everything together, I feel like the only thing that is going to help us as a global society is thinking. Now, you have some of us who I would not call Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos necessarily slick based on what I know about them. I feel like with them we might be able to reinsert the term smart. It's possible to be both. I think that's another. Issue that we struggle through as a nation is we think everything has to be either or. Like you mentioned earlier, well, what do Democrats stand for? I mean, I consider myself by and large a Democrat. I have voted for Republicans throughout my life, but I consider myself a Democrat. And as a Democrat, what do I stand for? I feel like I can stand for fairness and fiscal responsibility at the same time. And I'm not trying to brag, but check my credit score. That's representative of fiscal responsibility. At the same time, I do not think it is fair to take social programs from certain groups because if you go back far enough, you will also find that in my what they say dossier or whatever, you will find food stamps, you will find Head Start programs, you can find all of that, and yet I'm sitting here today as what can be considered a marginally successful citizen. So what I'm saying is you don't have to be either or. You don't have to choose between well we're fiscally responsible or we're pro life. I'm pro life too. I'm pro choice. Both of those can be true at the same time. You're not going to get more respect from me because you're air quotes pro life but anti choice. Now we have a philosophical difference that that's kind of like drawing a line in the sand, but we can all be pro life, right? I'm not pro. I have friends who are pro life to the point where they won't wear leather, they won't eat fish, because they want all the fishies to live and everything. So there are definitely levels. This is a continuum, but if you try to convince me that you cannot have a heart for society unless it's a portion of society that's making you money, I take issue with that. I think that's morally deficient.
Fair enough. Well, I think that's a good place to end it for today. I want to thank y'all for watching another episode of I Only Ask Because. We will catch you very soon. Thanks for watching.